What's up, everybody? William Warfield here with you, and I want to welcome everybody into the PrepSpin podcast one more time as we continue to do this each and every Thursday night. Thursday nights happen to be our celebrity nights, and man, we got two big celebrities here tonight on the show. How about Tony Bacigalupo, the athletic director up there at Covington Catholic? He'll be joining us here tonight. Gary Ball, always a celebrity, by the way. You know Gary's going to be joining us. And then, of course, Doug Flynn. He is a National League Gold Glove winner. He'll be on in the second part of the show here this evening. But let's talk about Tony real quick. Tony Bacigalupo, the athletic director again up there at Covington Catholic. Graduated from Newport Catholic back in 2000. He went to Thomas More College. He got his degree there in business economics. And he's been at Covington Catholic now for 6 years as an athletic director. Of course, he coached basketball there from 2011 to 2017. But check this out. Here's a pretty cool stat for you guys. So 5 state championships underneath his belt when you talk about him being an athletic director there. So 2017 and 2019, the state championships in football came to Covington Catholic. And then when you talk about basketball, 2014 and 2018. Let's not forget about soccer. Boys soccer in 2015, another state championship for them there. And then, of course, they were runners-up, I believe, in 2016. So let's bring the guys on to the show. Tony and Gary, how's things going, man?
Great, William. Appreciate you guys having me on tonight. Really appreciate everything you guys do for high school sports in the state of Kentucky.
We're excited to have you on, Tony. What you guys do up there at Cov Cath, just an amazing facility, great school up there. But the school spirit is something that always gets me. Just a phenomenal place to go to learn and to play sports at.
Yeah, it's certainly a special place. You know, all the students, it's a unique environment with an all-male school and the brotherhood of the students and how much they support one another and really connect with one another. So very special place with a great culture and, great leadership with Mr. Rowe. I think he, deserves all the credit for all the success we've had here, particularly recently.
Yeah. Gary Ball, I guess we can open up questions here for Tony.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a lag, William, in the video, in the audio.
Got a little lag.
Is that better?
There? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
so
we're
that's
good.
I just wanted to ask.
On.
Okay.
It might get rid of some of that echo, maybe.
Okay.
There we go. How's that?
Good. I just wanted to ask you, Tony Bacigalupo, when you look at your student section, William alluded to that. You have the best student section in the state of Kentucky. These guys, tell us about, they have a tryout. And aren't there captains of this student body, of this student section?
Each year the seniors, for the fall seasons, typically a lot of the basketball guys will be the, leaders of it. And then the football guys will take over, during basketball season. It's kind of neat seeing a guy like Michael Mayer during basketball this year. He decided not to play, but he's the first one out there leading the guys. Typically I'm able to hold a few of them back. I definitely couldn't hold Michael back, though.
Man, he's such an athlete. My goodness.
Yeah. Not many people can hold that.
It brings a special, unique environment. Whether we're playing at home, playing on the road, they bring so much energy, so much creativity, and it's just it's a fun atmosphere, and it's a great place to work when you have all that, great energy.
I want to know who's in charge of the student section for you guys up there, because I mean, when you're at Rupp Arena or when you're at Kroger Field, playing in these big games and the student section show up, I mean, it is just amazing to watch. I almost get lost in it, if you will, and I feel like I'm just, a part of the atmosphere there that you all create.
Yeah, first of all, I think the kids do a great job. We let them, do their cheers, but the first time we would hear anything, we got guys, people, spread out. We typically have anywhere from 10 faculty members and multiple members of the administration there. And, it's fun fun to be involved with, and they have a good time with it, and they'll dress up and have their different themes and, wear their candy striped pants that we have. It's kind of become the cheerleading uniform. Actually, this year we actually had a set roster of cheerleaders on the KHSA website with a certified coach that took the class. So I don't know if that was going overboard, but we did that just to kind of, be able to do what we do.
Now, do you all at CovCath, whenever you're playing your games and things like that, do you ever invite the Notre Dame cheerleaders, which happens to be a school right across, all girls school right across the road there from you all, I believe? Is that right?
Correct. Yes. They sit typically in one section, but their dance team and our band do stuff together. So actually just talked to them about that yesterday, going into kind of the fall sports, that their dance team will do some stuff for us as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gary Ball?
Tony, you played at Newport Catholic. Did you play for Rondon?
I did. I played for Ron for 4 years, and love Ron, and just what a great guy, what a great career he's had. And playing for him, you're going to be prepared, you're going to be tough, and we were a smaller school, but he always challenged us. I can remember one year playing Paintsville, Scott County, Fleming County. They were 3 of the Final Four teams, and you always played a good schedule. I think kind of the crew we have here at CovCath now is a lot of the guys I went to Newport Catholic with, and the lessons we learned from him, and guys like Tom Potter, Bob Schneider. I know you remember those names.
Yep.
It was a great place to go to school.
Yeah. New Catholic. Go ahead, Wade.
I was just going to say, I'm going to open up the chat on Facebook if the fans want to interact too and ask some questions as well. I know you got a Covington Catholic faithful up there that's already posted this all over social media, so I'd love to get them involved in the conversation tonight as well.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah. Our following, not only with the students, but, we have somebody that runs a football alumni Twitter account, and he showed up at our 50th anniversary game a couple years back. He had the helmets, every helmet we've ever had. Just it makes it so special here is that community support that we have. It's certainly, unique in that aspect.
Yeah.
Tony, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a gentleman that played a big role there at CovCath, Jack Kalen. He was such a icon there and meant so much to you and the program there. Talk to us about Jack Kalen.
Yeah, we miss Jack a lot. He's been gone for a little over a year now, but Jack was here 51 years, and you think back of all the great people that have devoted their lives to not only Covington Catholic, but just education as a whole. Anybody that teaches and coaches for 51 years is certainly a special individual. And Jack was just so funny, had a great sense of humor, taught German, taught economics, was the AD, was a cross-country coach, track coach, official, ran the freshman tournament. He's the only guy he's got like 5 tournaments named after. He ended up being the bowling coach at the end and won a region in bowling his first year. So Jack was certainly a special and a unique guy, and I think everybody around the state really respected him and loved him.
Oh, yeah, they did. I know. I'm including that you just mentioned. Jack, I'm a big Jack Kalen fan, and I will say right now, Mr. Bacigalupo, without question, unequivocally, William. I think William will agree with this. You have from top to bottom, Eddie Evanston, the football coach, Coach Rusat's a basketball coach, Crumpleback, your baseball coach. You have from top to bottom some of the best coaches in this state and the country.
I would put them up against anybody. I agree 100%. I know there's some great staffs throughout the state and throughout the country, but and a guy like Al Herzenberg too with tennis, that they've been top 3 or 4 in the state as well. You talk about all the wins and state titles. Eddie's got 4 now. Scott's got 2. Crumps has got 1. Coach Robertson's got 1 and multiple runner-ups both here and at Highlands. We're really blessed to have such a great coaching staff, not only at the head coaching level, but our assistant coaches as well. So I would definitely put our coaching staff up against anybody in the country.
Tony, where does most of your kids come from?
Primarily our feeder schools, but I mean, we do have kids from 40 different zip codes in northern Kentucky and in the tri-state area. So, I think we're located in a place where we're easily accessible. I think obviously our success not only athletically, but more importantly, being a blue ribbon school 2 times here, and the number of kids that are going off to colleges and the scholarship money they're getting, really speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to start about talk about a kid that was instrumental there, AJ Mayer. I mean, the kid was special. Not only a great basketball player, led you to a state title in football. Talk to us about AJ.
Yeah, and on top of that, AJ is just a wonderful human being. His dad has just a story about AJ and Michael. They're kind of both connected on this. Couple years back, we moved and needed some help moving, and their dad actually has a moving and storage company, and literally AJ and Michael are helping unload furniture into the house as we move, and that's the type of people they are. It's a wonderful family, and you talk about the genes in that family. Wow. Their dad, Andy, played at Ohio U, and then their mom's a Malley. So you got, Michael at Notre Dame, you got AJ at Miami, and then now Luke, their cousin, is playing for the Pirates. So just unbelievable athletes, but great people as well, and just fierce competitors. They just want to rip your heart out every time.
Yeah. Or your helmet off on the football field too.
Yeah, the hit in the state championship early on, I think, kind of set the tone, for Michael. And then, going back to AJ, we knew he was going to be pretty special early on. And actually as a freshman started the regional tournament. I can remember him as a starting pitcher in the first round of the region. So tremendous athlete, and he's in the mix at Miami to be the starting quarterback there. It'll be interesting to see, all the stuff that's come out today with the Big Ten. Miami typically plays, multiple Big Ten teams early on, and I think the financial impact of that, how that's going to affect some of those smaller conferences like the MAC, and immediately thought of AJ and Cam Butler, who are both up at Miami, as well as Jack Coldiron. We've got 3 up there right now. So.
Yeah. Not to mention that the Ivy League decided to postpone all their sports until I think the first of the year. They've called off all their fall sports. So the Big Ten is kind of following that suit, just going to play conference games. So AJ's up there in Miami. Well, how? That's more or less like an Ivy League school. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Right. And then Lucas Jones, one of our graduating seniors, is going to Cornell. So I haven't talked to him yet, but certainly that's going to, affect him as well, going to Cornell. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting time here, to see what develops, at the college level, and then at the state level, particularly, tomorrow with the Board of Control meeting.
When the Mr. Football was everybody, we thought that Michael Mayer or Bo Allen, the quarterback at Catholic, it was between those two. But Michael Mayer, we've got some highlights. I think William's got a Lex Covcath football game that we'll show some highlights. Is that coming up later, William?
You've got
a good Michael Mayer story going to Notre Dame. Tell us about that, Tony, when you had your conversation with Brian Kelly.
So, oddly enough, I was up at Notre Dame for a conference. This is probably summer of 2017, and happened to be sitting there at the hotel on campus, the Morris Inn, and was having some dinner. And Brian Kelly actually walked in, and we struck up a conversation, was just kind of asking, about some of our kids. I said, well, we got multiple that have committed to Miami, and Chuck Martin there is their was Notre Dame's defensive coordinator, so there was a connection. But I said, you might want to keep an eye on this freshman we had at this time. It was Michael, and we really thought could be kind of like a Kyle Rudolph, who maybe grew up more as a basketball guy, but body type just screamed, All-American tight end. And I'm sure he didn't remember that conversation at all, but it's funny how things developed, as time went on, and Michael was so good on both sides of the ball. But as a lifelong Notre Dame fan and going up there, 6 or 7 times for games, it was certainly from a personal level really excited, to see him going to Notre Dame.
Well, you're being a Newport Catholic guy. A young man named Frank Jacobs who went up to Notre Dame.
Oddly enough, Frank lived right below me when I lived in Newport. So I would see him occasionally, and obviously with my family's connection, with my uncle coaching with Jerry Faust, Notre Dame's always held a special place in our heart. So,
yeah. Sorry, William.
I was just wondering to know, who are some of the most famous alumni that's come through Covington Catholic?
Right now, on the athletic end, you have Luke Maley, that's playing for the Pirates and had a great career at UK. Just speaking and going back over the course of history, you go back into the 60s and 70s, there were some unbelievable basketball teams there. Guys like Bill Topmiller, who just got inducted into the La Rosa's Hall of Fame. Todd Adler is another name I think Gary will probably remember, that was an unbelievable baseball player, got drafted by the Reds, played in their farm system for a while, was also a great basketball player. So it's long story and long history as far as all the great athletes, here at CovCath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't forget golf. You had Steve Flash, right?
Right. Yeah. And Steve's son actually graduated here 2 years ago, Griffin. So, Steve, they won the state championship in 1984 in golf, and obviously Steve's gone on to have a great career, and now on the senior tour, doing his thing there. I think he just got on there in the last year or two. So, we see him every once in a while as well.
And William was asking about former alumni. I go back to my days when I covered Covington Catholic back in the 80s and 90s. There was a quarterback named Paul Layden. Remember him?
Paul was mid 80s, and I believe was a quarterback on that 87 state championship team, that kind of got things going. It's just some other guys, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Tiemann family. Gary would remember, Dan so well, and, Dan Tiemann actually played for the Cincinnati Royals. And a funny story with him, a couple years ago, somebody found a basketball that was the 1963 or 4 Cincinnati Royals team, and it had Oscar and Dan Tiemann on the same ball, which we have hanging in our trophy case. So that's pretty neat. And his brother Roger actually went to U of L, and some say was one of the best all time in Northern Kentucky. So
yeah. A lot of history there. A lot of history.
I think that the history of all our coaches too, Dan, and then you get into guys like Lynn Ray, and I think everybody around the state knows Lynn, and the legend he is in the coaching ranks, and some of those legendary CovCath Highlands games, some of those legendary CovCath Bell County games. When you get into the 90s there, Lynn is certainly a legend, and we still get to see him a lot. He pops in every once in a while just to check up on everybody.
Let's go ahead and show some of these highlights that we've got here that we pulled off. Now, one that I don't have queued up here is, remember we had made the comment, or I made the comment earlier about the Mayor's ripping off the helmet. That literally happened in the state championship game. It was the the CovCath Frederick Douglass game there. And Mayer just come off the side, and I mean, as soon as he hit the kid from Douglas, that helmet flew off. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but that was a big hit.
It was early on, and it kind of set the tempo for the game. Frederick Douglass was so talented. And it's an interesting story. Coach Evanston and Coach Landis are really good friends, and obviously very familiar with one another and their programs, and We just were talking about it yesterday. Frederick Douglass probably had more talent, but we just had Michael Mayer, and Michael definitely set the tone, early on.
That's exactly what I told William, Tony. I said, William, Douglas is very, very good, and their talent's probably better than. But Cov Cat's got number 87, and he's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Right. He's pretty good, and anytime Eddie Evanston's on a sideline, I'm gonna like my chances.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Such a great X's and O's coach.
Yeah, and this will be our 6th year together, but our history goes back even longer than that. When we started this, we went back to, I mentioned earlier about kind of some of the Newcalf connections. Our defensive coordinator is Terry Brown, and Gary will get a kick out of this. He comes from the long line of Samphases from Newport Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
So, our defense is going to be a hard-nosed, tough team when you got a Samphas member, leading the way.
Or a Pangallo.
Right. We've actually got we've had a few Pangallos go through here as well. So a couple of the relatives, cousins, we had one a couple years ago in baseball. So
you were talking about Ronnie Don earlier. When I was a sophomore at Boone County, we had a really good basketball team, really good team. And we played Newcalf. They had Ronnie Don was a senior. They had Mark Krebs. They had, I'm trying to think, Crutcher, Crutcher. They had he was an African American player. That's the only one they had on the team, Newcastle. But they were so
Craddock, maybe. Yeah.
Craddock. That's it, Craddock. Yeah. I said Crutcher. And you also had a Wilfong. Well, Wilfong could shoot the lights out. Oh my God, that was I rode the bench. I didn't play much my sophomore year because we were loaded. We had Mark McVeigh, Greg Ballmer, Ricky Waller. You remember all those guys? Nick Carlotta. We had all the players, but we couldn't beat Newport Catholic. They just
they had a good run there where they won 3 in a row. And still hear some of those stories. That goes right after kind of when my dad graduated. So very familiar with all those Newcalf teams and all those Covcalf teams, and just it's such a great sports area in Northern Kentucky, and the pride that people take, and then seeing those guys later on in life and the memories that they have is certainly enjoyable. For me, I live on a street with 2 of the Shields family, and see Coach Shields every once in a while. It's just wonderful sharing all those memories.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw out some of these highlights here. So,
well, I was gonna say missing out on the highlights, Tony.
The Knights defense also made the touchdown last time they had the ball. 38-24, 7:48 to play. Covcast Jacob back to pass. Airs it to Michael Mayer. He's got the catch at the 40. Runs over man at the 35. And man, he just made.
Wow.
That's number 3. That's who I was talking about, William. He just ran over number 3 for Lex Cath. So number 3 probably had some cobwebs after that one.
Yeah, I
imagine he did. We were down 13 or 14 at that point with 8 minutes to go, and that was an exciting game. Bo Allen was unbelievable in that game, and certainly looking forward to watching him at UK. Yeah. But that was an exciting game, and we're fortunate to come back and get that one. But again, that kind of set the tone. If Michael doesn't get that catch and that first down, could have gone the other way.
Here's we're going to show a couple of Bo Allen highlights, I'm sure, in this too. But here's
down to the top. Ryan Nichols goes in motion away from us up here. And back to pass, Bo Allen. He's looking downfield, throws it in the corner. Touchdown in the back of the end zone. Touchdown.
Perfect throw.
That was just a great game. You talked about one of the classics. If 2019 football-wise, if 2019 is what we're going to have for the next year, hopefully not. Hopefully we get to play here in the fall. But you got to think, man. Just thinking back, that game right there was a pure classic. I mean, you talk about instant classics. It had to have been that game. That was probably our best game all season.
Yeah, it definitely was. We've had some unbelievably, close games with Lex Cath, and just great games. And, that's another, great rivalry that we've had in football and basketball with them. And, you're going to get 2 schools that are going to go at it when they play every time.
And you had a packed house there that night too, if I remember right.
That kind of leads into another thing, just being on Friday Night Football has been such a blessing for us. We're going into our what would that be now? Our fourth season of the permanent Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
But the great complex that we've got here, it was a long time in the making, and it started out, for the people that aren't familiar with it, we always played Saturday games, and kind of early on, I think that was to our advantage. But in recent years, it was a disadvantage for us, and I think mainly because a lot of times as a result of playing on Saturdays, we weren't getting to play a JV game. Some schools would play a JV game on Monday, but not everybody because it threw off other schools' schedules. So, one of the big things that Coach Evanston and I talked about early on was getting games on Friday night. And before the stadium was complete, it meant getting those temporary lights. And I think you guys did a game under those temporary lights, and they're about 30 feet high. But what that allowed us that season was to, get in a routine where all 10 games were played Friday night, 7 o'clock, play a JV game the next day. And, I think one of the big reasons for our success is playing multiple games and playing, an 8 or 9 game JV schedule and playing an 8 or 9 game freshman schedule, where guys aren't playing, only 3 or 4 JV games, which is it's commonplace anymore.
Yeah. I mean, from an experience factor, too.
Right.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, the only problem you had with those Saturday games is as you got deeper into November in the playoffs, you were going up against college football. And I like those Boone County Cub-Calf games that kicked off about 5:30, especially when we had Sean Alexander back there returning kicks and running the football for Boone County.
Yeah, traditionally, all throughout the 90s, every other year we kicked off the high school season. We were the first game in the state. It was 5:30, and wasn't getting dark till 9 o'clock at that time. So yeah, 5:30 against Boone County was the Cub-Calf tradition for a long time. But we're glad to have what we have now, and the turf, the stadium, the stands. It's first class. So many people stepped up to make that a reality.
Is that turf new there?
We're going into our 6th season with that, and for people, we just actually had the disinfected and the test on it, and they actually said it's like it's in its 2nd year, and for those that have turf, one of the big keys is, every other week grooming the field, which unfortunately I just lost that guy. He moved out of town, but we take care of it, and doing those little things because those things aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we got fans watching on Facebook tonight, tuning into this one, and like you said, the Covington Catholic alumni folks has posted this, and nothing but compliments so far on there. People talking about what a great job you do and how lucky they are to have you.
Yeah.
Well, certainly appreciate that. It makes it easy when you got a great community. We got great families. We got great administrative team. It really isn't. Like I said, it's every day is an enjoyment being here. You miss that the most over these last few months. You miss those relationships and with the kids, with the families and alumni. The support here is second to none.
Well, Tony, we're gonna have to ask you what athletic director hat on now, because fall sports are just golf is maybe 3 weeks away. Football is maybe a little over a month away. That's just a couple of them, and just cross country, things like that. As an athletic director, how difficult has it been on you to plan anything with the uncertainty of this COVID, this coronavirus?
Right. I think it's like having 4 different plans. You're throwing a dart at a moving target, but I think the biggest thing is being prepared. Having a plan for what's it going to look like if we, can have a season, if it's reduced. Are there fans in the stands? What if we don't have fans in the stands? Typically your gate receipts from football and basketball, and up here at soccer games, we get a lot of great crowds for those as well. If we can't have those, what's that look like from a financial standpoint? So trying to plan for that, and that's where the video broadcasting comes in. And, are you doing a paid video, streaming service to try to make up, you're not going to make up for a Friday night game here with Highlands or Beechwood. You're going to have 3,500, 4,000 fans, but, if you can have 1,000 fans here, does that streaming service at $10 a pop make up for some of that? So those are kind of some of the things, during this downtime that we've been looking at and preparing for. And, I think another thing that we've done already is the digital ticketing side. I think people are going to carry less cash. I certainly, is one of the 3 or 4 people that count it. I don't know if I want to be handling. I can actually remember that going back into March, March 9th or 10th, and we're selling a lot of tickets for that regional championship game, and I'm trying to get everything settled up on March 11th, and I'm walking around with a mask and gloves on, and people are looking at me like, "What's going on?" I'm counting a few $1,000s in money. It's I really don't want to have to handle that if I don't have to. So those are some of the things I think ADs around the state have been already doing, thinking about. Obviously scheduling. We're going to know a little bit more tomorrow. On Tuesday, Commissioner Tackett spoke to the state, education committee and the legislative board on that, and things look very optimistic. And how 48 hours have certainly changed things with, increased numbers in the Ivy League and the Big Ten and, Ohio State, North Carolina, some of those things the last couple of days. So tomorrow's meeting will be interesting, but I know we got great people leading the way that are going to have plenty of options for us. I can't thank them enough because they always put the student athletes first. I know throughout the spring, they tried everything possible to play that Sweet 16 and really, waited as long as they possibly could. So I can't thank them enough for at least looking at that and making it an option.
Yeah. Like Julian Tackett told William and I, he was on the show, William, about a month ago, something like that, month and a half. And he said, think about running a high school athletic association and no high school sports. I mean, that's their bell cow. I mean, they've got to have high school sports to run their organization. So, he's going to do everything in his power to get high school sports off the ground this fall. I really feel that.
Right. And I know the safety is going to be first and foremost, but, there is a financial business element, to this, just like any other business, there's bills that got to be paid, and for, high school athletic director, there's certain things that happen. Many people are on a July 1st as the start of their fiscal year. Well, I can't not order helmets. I had a big, one of the products of our recent football success is the more people are coming out to play football, and with that, we need more helmets. So you got to order 24 helmets. You got to order 24 helmets. I can't wait till September to know whether we have a season. So things like that, things like insurance. 2 of my biggest expenses of the year have already taken place. So you got to have it. So it's tough, but we'll figure a way out.
What do you see as the big possibility that we obviously got that big conversation that's going to take place tomorrow, but what would be a good outcome, do you think, for you and Covington Catholic?
If we could play a reduced schedule of, obviously we're optimistic that we could play a full schedule, but I see a scenario maybe where it's reduced to somewhere in that 6 to 8 games range. I'd be happy with that. Maybe your district games plus 1 or 2. In terms of football, maybe soccer gets pushed back 3 or 4 weeks. Golf, I would think, should be able to go off relatively normal. As Commissioner Tackett mentioned the other day, I think the perception across country is there's not a whole lot of contact, but go to one of those regional tournaments where they're starting and finishing, there's a pretty big pack. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Bigger one, I think, being indoors would be the basketball season. Does that get pushed back to buy some time? Those are all things that'll get mentioned tomorrow. I know there's been the talk of moving seasons or flip-flopping seasons, and playing the less, contact in the fall. I guess the biggest problem with that is the turnaround. You can't play, full football schedule in the spring and then play a full football schedule in fall of 21. Does it mean if you did that, you're playing 6 games one year and 6 in the next, and then you're penalizing that next year when things may be normal? There's really no easy solution to any of this, but look forward to watching that tomorrow, and I know they'll come up with some options, and we'll make the most of what we can do. That's all we can.
Yeah.
And I think a lot will be decided too, Tony and William, with the Major League Baseball starting up the end of July with their 60-game schedule, how all that comes together with the COVID and their testing, and then you got basketball's already convened in Orlando with all those teams, how that all comes about. I think that will determine a lot on what we can do with high school sports, what happens with these professional leagues.
I agree. You need something like that to take place and happen, for 2 or 3 weeks, without, there's going to be positive tests that come up, but, hopefully they can be minimized and reduced, and we need it. I think for the mental health of high school kids, it's important. Kids are resilient, but I think they need to get back to, some activities in a healthy, safe way, just for that overall, positive experience that athletics brings, particularly, education-based athletics.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions coming in from some of the guys that are watching online. Sorry, Gary, I had you.
Let me ask this real quick.
Yeah.
Julian Tackett, I thought, brought up the best point the other day when he said, you don't have this problem at Cupcake. You don't have a lot of dropouts or kids that quit school, but he said the best deterrent to dropout in high schools is high school athletics.
Right. It's a great motivator. It's a great, incentive. I think any school in the state would say, a kid's discipline record is going to be better when they're involved with something. You can go through history of, kids' grades are typically better when they're involved with an activity. So, those are all things that are, I know pediatricians are coming out and making some comments on of how getting kids back together from a social aspect, and the education aspect as well.
All right, going to these comments real quick. John Piper's watching out there. He said, how would Cov Cath match up against Dallas Jesuit? I guess is how you say that. I mean,
Dallas Jesuit.
Is that who it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he wants to know how that would happen.
I know that's a big school down in Dallas, and I know my former assistant AD is actually moving down that way. So I don't know if somehow that question's connected to that, but that would be a battle. That'd be a battle, but certainly one we'd
they would
entertain, I guess.
Cath would match up. Yeah, you very well, especially that 17 team with AJ Mayer and Michael Mayer was a sophomore, I think. Yeah, that team would match up, and last year's team would match up.
Right. The biggest thing I think with in playing a GCL team like LaSalle that we do these last couple of years is, we don't have to play them every single week. That steady diet of having to play Moeller, Elder, St. X, LaSalle week after week would be quite challenging, just from a depth and numbers perspective. But certainly that was a highlight of our season last year, was beating LaSalle.
Yeah, the Lancers are always good. What else you got, William?
All right, so will pay-per-view be behind a paywall? I assume that would, be how it works.
Yeah, that would be the plan. That would be the plan, to provide a, and that'll all be dictated upon, how many fans we're allowed to have. But yeah, that's what we're thinking, is to have a paywall.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it with the Northern Kentucky athletic directors was the issue of, I think each home team has to hold the rights for that, because every school is going to be in a position where they need to maximize the money they make. So, it's not like Covcast crew can go over and do a game at Dixie. I think the home team's got to hold the rights and make the money when they can.
Well, I know, if you all are participating in the bowl game at Lexington Catholic this year, we will definitely have you covered on that one.
Yeah.
We are not in the bowl game, but we are playing them regular season on September 4th. So that's right in that area. Do any games get taken off the front end? Maybe that game gets played, maybe it doesn't. Certainly, we love going down there and playing at their complex. It's really neat atmosphere, I think, at Lexington.
Yeah. Well, I know Tony. I know we're running out of time here with Tony, but there's so much. We got to have you back on because there's so much to talk about with you with Northern Kentucky. I got to talk about real quick that Beechwood rivalry. Boy, that's become a big rivalry over the years. I mean, even if they don't beat you, that's their big rivalry game.
Right. And being really a mile apart from each other, and a lot of the kids grow up together, might go to grade school together, and the different things that the student bodies do kind of with the theme. We always have a Braveheart theme for that game, and I come home typically covered in blue and white paint, but it's fun. That's what high school sports are about, and that's what certainly we miss that, but. The people at Beechwood are great. I love working with Ryan Booth, and Coach Rash does a great job, and Coach Getz and Kevin Gray, the baseball coach there, is a longtime friend. So, we got some really good, healthy rivalries up here, and, kids are going to lay it on the line out on the field, but certainly afterwards, the families and, are friends, and it's a good thing.
We got another comment about the Dallas Cov-Cath game. So we got echo coming back, I think, from between Gary and Tony. For some reason, there's an echo at sometimes, but here's another question about that. They said that, well, it's more of a statement. It said, I know you got all those great players that play for your team over the years, but they said that they got Emmitt Smith's kid on that team.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be pretty good. Yeah, so
yeah. Real quick,
speaking of I think the whole when we're talking about scheduling, I think there is going to be a limit on who you can play and how far you can travel. That's one question I asked for the commissioner last month, even, whereas we plan to go on a trip to Florida with basketball every year. How's that going to look? And I think there will definitely be a limit on where you can play. And obviously, with Kentucky bordering a lot of states, I would expect there be maybe a radius, since we're bordered by so many states, but not being able to travel long distances.
Yeah. We haven't even talked much about your basketball team. What a great run they've had under Ruth Satz and all the assistant coaches there, and CJ.
Yeah,
the kids,
CJ. I expect CJ to have a huge year for Iowa. And just thinking other guys off that 18 team, Aiden Rusat's Scott's son, is having a great career down at Christian Brothers. And I think about Aiden, one of my all-time favorite basketball players here, because of, the pressure on him to perform, not only as he's the head coach's son, but he's Nick's younger brother, who was state tournament MVP in 2014. And, Aiden just had a wonderful career and really developed into his own game and made his own name, and couldn't be more proud of him.
Yeah.
Can we touch real quick before we move on to first of all, I want to tell everybody, I had the opportunity. We keep bringing up Michael Mayer's name, but check this out. I had the opportunity to give him his MVP trophy. So we were up there in the top, doing the production, there at Kroger Field, and I got this call from Curtis Mackley, who happens to be my business partner here on PrepSpin now. Let me just walk you through this. He says, hey, man, I can't make it out there. Can you go down on the field after the game and present the MVP trophies for me? So I got the opportunity that day, and actually all the games, to present the MVP trophy to all these guys, and that was just a cool moment for me personally, being able to hand Michael that trophy, or that plaque.
He got a lot of them this year. We had it was nice. Jimmy Reed came up and presented him with his Mr. Football Award, actually right in conjunction with his signing ceremony, and that was neat. In all our history in football, he was the first Mr. Football Award winner. So certainly going to miss him, and more importantly, miss his family. They're just really good people.
The Mayer family, they've been very good to Covington Catholic.
So what's been the wildest moment? What's been the wildest moment you've ever been through? And I got a good feeling I know what it is, and it's probably that Scott County Cov-Cath game from the Sweet 16 back in 2019. But it has to be Todd.
And it certainly was. The Scott County 2014 game. And being down 6 and Gilbert goes to the line. We told the kids to foul somebody else. Of course, we foul. Their guys shoot 92%, but for whatever reason, he misses. And Nick goes down and does his thing. I think that gets lost in kind of the Sweet 16 lore of, I'd put him right up there with the Rick Jones shot against Lexcath the one year. Nick really just put the team on his shoulders that day and said, "There's no way we're going to lose this game." But going to 18 or the 19 game, that first round game last year, down 19 points, and there's Jack Davin hitting that one, and he hits another one here. There wasn't a whole lot of people left in the arena, other than our student section. There's Big Mike doing his thing. So real quick, it got down, and I'm worried about the kids really in the stands going nuts. Wanting to storm the court. So my focus was really on the students at that time, as well as the other people we had working in the stands with us.
That was almost a miracle comeback right there.
Yeah. Well, Tony Bacigalupo, the athletic director at Covington Catholic up there in Park Hills, Newport Catholic grad. William, we've certainly enjoyed having you on the show. Doug Flynn's going to come on with us, talk some baseball and other stuff, but we really enjoyed having you on the show.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys and everything you do for high school sports. Hopefully we can get back at it here in August or September, and look forward to watching games you guys do on Friday nights.
Yes, sir, and good luck to you, and good luck to the upcoming season, Tony.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Appreciate everything.
All right,
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Tony.
Right.
Good seeing you, man.
Thank you.
Tony Bacigalupo. I tell you, we got to have him back on, William.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. I'm going to get things reset just a little bit, and we're going to bring National League Gold Glove winner. We're going to bring him into the show.
Okay.
So let me see here. Doug Flynn going to be joining us. So give me 1 second. Doug, you're going to have the wrong name underneath of you for just a second.
He's going to be Tony Bacigalupo.
Just don't ask me to spell it.
I can't spell it either, Doug. I never was a good speller. Doug, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We just got through talking with Tony Bacigalupo, and hopefully have a high school season.
Yeah. I watched 15 minutes of it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Baseball, I call you because whenever I think of baseball, William last week when we had play-by-play guy on from the Legends, who didn't get to do any games this year with the Legends, but Mr. Andrew Murphy, he said when he thinks of the Legends, he thinks of Doug Flynn. Is that right, William?
Yeah, I do. I got to see Bobby quite often there, coming up the elevator, and just hearing a lot about Bobby and all that all that he's done, with the game of baseball. And of course, I met you through Robbie Davis, and so you and I've crossed paths here and there, and always a pleasure.
We'll get to see Big Bobby tomorrow. Yeah, we're going over to do a little visit with Dad. He and Mom over at Sayre Christian Village, and once a week we get a chance to go see him. Can't hug him yet, which kind of hurts, but at least we're getting a chance to see him. And they looked pretty good the other day.
Yeah. Whenever
93.
we have Doug.
93 years old. Yep.
Oh, 93. Looking really good for 93. I tell you what, whenever I have Doug Flynn on anything, I always think of Doug and I doing high school baseball years ago.
Yeah.
That brings a smile to Doug's face because that
was fun.
That's what it was fun.
Got to see a lot of young talent that was pretty good. The high school kids coming up. Some of them went on to good college careers, and a few of them went on to the pros. We saw the rule changes that happened over a few years, and then they saw them start bringing in more teams to play and spreading the tournament out a little bit. And one thing that you and I talked about, Gary, that I'm really glad they did was if your ace pitched on Wednesday night, he could come back in the finals. If your ace played their first game on Thursday and pitched, he was not able to come back and pitch the finals. I'm glad they changed all that.
Yeah, because that happened to Chaz Rowe of Lafayette. He could not come back and
Yeah,
pitch, and they got beat in the championship.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that
So,
probably happened a couple of times throughout the course of that.
yeah.
And of course, not being one to hold back anything, we sort of spilled it out on the air a couple of times saying it's just not fair, and it wasn't.
Still, the funniest thing that I recall that happened with Doug Flynn was we were doing a game. I think it was a state game because Julian Tackett used this in a training thing with the NFHS, and there was a kid running bases or something, and I think he hit or punched or ran into the umpire. And Doug, what'd you say? You said, "Uh-oh." And Julian said, "You know what I'm talking about, Doug?" And you said, "Uh-oh, he's in trouble." And they used that for a training video with the NFHS.
I'll be
You
darned.
cannot.
Yeah, a lot of stuff came out of my mouth that probably shouldn't have, but I got a tendency to be a fan when I broadcast ball games. So if I see something happen, a little bit of Joe Nuxall in me, I think.
I like that. I love Joe Nuxall. Joe, the old lefty, was just he was a treat, wasn't he, Doug? I mean, he was just. I mean, he called your games when
Yeah,
you were a player, right?
he did, and he was just he. You never heard him say a bad word on the air. You never heard him say a bad word about a player. You know, as a former player, he understood what we were all going through. When you struggled on the field, he wasn't critical because he had struggled himself at times. So, and then after the game, if you were fortunate enough to do the star of the game with him, he made you feel like you were so special. Of course, in those days in Cincinnati, we had so many superstars that were there that occasionally when I got to do what it was just fun to do because I was a fan of Joe's, I was a fan of the Reds, I was a fan of baseball,
Yeah.
and now getting a chance to talk a little bit was pretty cool.
I tell you, my Joe Nuxall. I used to do a lot of sports stags up in Cincinnati at the high school. You know, they had sports stags. That say Elder would have a sports stag. Well, Joe Nuxall would always be the guest speaker, and he'd come in there. You know, I tell you what, he has some of the best stories I've ever heard from a guy that knows baseball. You know, he pitched for the Reds when he was what, 15 years old or something.
15, yeah. He pitched when he was 15, then he went back to the minor leagues for like 8 years and then got called back
Wow.
up to the big leagues. But, you know, he was
So he was
Mr.
20.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Mr. Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You know, people love Marty. Marty was such a gifted broadcaster, but Joe was just one of us. He was one of the fans. I mean, he grew up in Hamilton, right there close to Cincinnati. So everybody loved him. And I tell you who was close to him was Tom Browning. They, of course, both of them being left-handers, they had just a real special relationship. As a matter of fact, at Joe's funeral, Tom brought a cooler in and sat down beside the casket and said, "All right, partner, we're going to have one more." And
Oh.
Wow.
it was, you know, and just with tears coming down his eyes. So it was pretty special. He was just a great guy, Gary.
He was, and the thing is, his call of his backdrop when Marty's making a call and Joe's in the background going, "Get up, get up, get up, get out of here!" You know, for a home run. I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. That's
Yeah, I've got
classic.
that on my recording because my first home run was recorded on that record for some reason, and we had a whole bunch of them that year, but they somehow got mine on the album, and I wore the paint off that sucker, buddy. I played it so many times, but you
Yeah,
can hear him in the background hollering, so it's pretty cool.
yeah. Well, Doug, you're a local guy. You went to Bryan Station.
Hmm.
You were a multiple sports star. You actually played basketball at Kentucky on the freshman team, and you've got a pretty good story from those basketball days. I think it was. I see you already. I know you know where I'm going with this. I think it was a game down at LSU. Is that right?
Oh, you mean when there was a mild altercation?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Well, yeah, you know, it's funny because and you're very nice to say I was a 3-sport star. I played 3 sports, but I played with some really good people. And Bryan Station back in those days had some great athletes. And
Yeah.
I mean, we were good in everything, in gymnastics, football, basketball, everything. We were pretty good because we had a lot of good athletes. And I was so because I was a late bloomer, so I was very small. But I loved the challenge of competing, and so playing one sport led me into the other. Well, coming out of high school, I had 0 scholarship opportunities. Nobody wanted me. No junior colleges, nobody. And then we get a call one day from Coach Hall, and the phone rings, and I was at my mom and dad's, so I answered the phone, and all of my friends used to imitate Coach Rupp and Coach Hall. So he said, "Hello, is this Doug?" I said, "Yes, sir. We'd like to talk to you about a basketball, baseball scholarship." And I went, "All right, that's one of my buddies. All right, I'll play along." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "I've been wondering when you were going to call. I got off the phone with Coach Wooden just a few minutes ago, and I hung up the phone." So the phone rings back a little bit later, and it's Coach Hall again. And I hear my dad say, "Hey, Joe, yeah, we're doing fine. Yeah, Doug's here. Why? He did what? He hung up on you." Well, we're going to be here. So he and Coach Parsons came over, and I got kind of a baseball, basketball scholarship, and played every game on the basketball team. And the one you're talking about, we were playing. Well, prior to the one you're talking about, we were playing LSU in Lexington, and I was guarding a guy. I was only 5'8", so I'm guarding a guy. I didn't grow till after my freshman year, so I'm guarding a guy about 6'2", and we're beating them pretty good, but he is talking to me the whole game, and he had some funny stuff. He said, "Oh, so when did they start letting jockeys play on the basketball team?" And I wasn't having a very good game. So we win the game. We go down to LSU a little while later, and we start off the game, and I start having a pretty nice game. I open up, hit the first 3 or 4 shots, which I didn't shoot much on that team. When you got Jim Andrews on the team, you're not going to shoot a lot because you got a guy 6'11", talented as he is. And Daryl Bishop also was on that team, who was just a great player. Well, all of them were good. Larry Stamper, Penor Wood, Dan Perry. We had a nice little freshman team. So me and this guy started having some dialogue, and the dialogue got a little rough. He kicked one off his leg, and I probably mentioned something to him about it, and came down the floor, and all of a sudden he just smoked me, man, just drilled me. And I happened to grab hold of his jersey, and when I did, it sort of pulled me right back to him, and I smoked him back. And we go down right in front of Coach Hall, and nobody saw him hit me. All they saw was me grab his jersey and hit him because he did it so quick. So they kick us both out of the ball game, go into the locker room at halftime. Coach Rupp comes in, and we get ready to go back out on the floor, and I'm out of the game. Coach Rupp says, "You wait right here just a minute." "Yes, sir." He said, "I just have to tell you, son," he said, "this is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to our state." He says, "You've got to be so," he said, "it's an embarrassment to University of Kentucky. It's an embarrassment to your poor mom and dad. It's an embarrassment to your teammates." And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm out of here. I'm losing my scholarship. So the game's over with. I got to go back out now and sit on the bench. 19,000 people are there, and I got to walk back out in front of them because Maravich is a senior, and they're getting ready to play the varsity game. So the game's over. We go back to the hotel. I'm in my room. I got ice on my jaw. Knock on the door. It's Dan Issel. He and his wife, Sherry, comes in. He said, "You okay?" And I went, "Yeah, I'm all right, I guess. Guess I'm going to be gone." He said, "Gone? You're not going anywhere." He said, "Coach Rupp loved it." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, before we went on the floor," he says, "By God, if some of you boys don't want to play hard, I got a little freshman that'll get in there and mix it up." and I thought, well, I'm going to be gone. But sure enough, I wasn't, and I got to stay. And it was one of the best years of my life because it taught me how to compete at a higher level. Because every day
Yeah.
you're scrimmaging the number 1 team in the nation. So it was
Right.
pretty cool.
And you would need that.
You see noses
that
stick up here. I got 2 dogs.
Yeah. And Doug, you would need that determination and desire and grit when you went on to play baseball, and then, of course, with the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, I learned a good lesson too. I was having a good game. I was the ball handler on that ball club. When I went out of the game, we really didn't have anybody to bring the ball up the floor. So Issel told me, he says, look, watch all the cheap shots that I take during the game. He said, because they know if they can get me out of the game, they got a chance to beat Kentucky. And he said,
Yeah.
once you went out of the game, there was nobody to bring the ball up the floor. And he said, you guys struggled from there on. He said, so don't be selfish. And I thought about that a lot when I got to the big leagues. It's smack the tag on a guy at second base, and the umpire would say safe, and it might be the 8th or 9th inning, and I'd go, if I get kicked out, then maybe that next ball I can make a good play. We can turn a double play. So it taught me,
Yeah.
how to keep my composure. And but yeah, I signed out of a tryout camp for $2,500. I got let go from UK's baseball team, went down to a junior college, didn't play any ball at all. And then they had a tryout camp, so I went and tried out. Although I was playing baseball on Sundays and softball about 3 nights a week. So I was staying very active. And then when the tryout camp came, some friends sort of dared me to go, and we all went. I tried out 4 times. And then finally on the 4th time, Gary, they said, what would it take for you to be a pro ball player? I said, Coke and a hot dog, whatever. And they signed me for $2,500, and you know the rest of the story.
Yep,
Wow.
that's right.
And you had a pretty long career there in the major leagues too. Cincinnati from 75 to 77. You went on to the New York Mets. 77 to 81. You won a National League Gold Glove award with the Mets in 1980. You played for the Rangers in 82. Also played for the Expos in 82. Matter of fact, you were with the Expos from 82 to 85, and then also had a stay there in Detroit in 1985 as well. 10 years in the majors, though, man. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I was ready to go. After Montreal let me go, I was 35 and I was ready to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had a nice career, considering. And I was sitting home, and Sparky Anderson called me and said, you healthy? I said, yes, sir. He said, you want to finish out the season with us? And I went, sure. So I'd only been home about 4 days, so I went into Tiger Stadium. Sparky said, well, we got a report from Montreal that you were hurt. And I said, Sparky, I'm not even going to get into what was going on in Montreal, but no, I'm not hurt. I'll shoot straight with you. And he said, well, go out to shortstop with Alan Trammell and take a few ground balls. So I went out, and they hit me 2 ground balls, and Sparky whistled. He said, come over here and go upstairs and sign. So I signed to finish up the 85 season with the Tigers. Go to spring training in 1986, meet with my agent, and we agree verbally to a 2-year extension of my contract, which has taken me through 87 and 88 because I was signed through 86. And so I go to the ballpark the next day, and I get called in the office, and I get released after 2 days before verbally agreeing to a 2-year extension. And that's when all the collusion stuff came in. So a lot of guys like me, veteran players, did not get signed back so they could sign some of the younger players for a minimum amount of money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I have no complaints, boys. I mean, I'm telling you, are you kidding me? You're talking about a blessed guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows you as a Cincinnati Red. I mean, I assume because of the 2 world championships, that you won with the Reds with 75 and 76. But talk to me about what that means to you to be known as Doug Flynn, the Cincinnati Reds baseball player.
Well, for a long time, I think my identity was wrapped around being that professional player. And, it can be a great thing, or it can be something that can, if you start latching onto it for too long, then you kind of forget that you got a few more years to live. And Willie Mays told me one time when he retired, he was a coach. He wasn't really a coach, kind of an assistant in New York, and he was over there to help Lee Mazzilli learn how to play center field. And I said, Willie, you got to be just busy all the time, just inundated with stuff to do. And he said, Doug, when you get out of the game, they find somebody else to replace you, and you're just another former player. And I'm thinking, dang, that's Willie Mays. That's maybe the best player ever. And so I knew when I got out of the game that I wasn't ready to quit I wanted to do something, so I hooked up with Governor Collins with the Champions Against Drugs program, and I did that for 9 years. And then I started playing professional softball. And I did that for 8 years and absolutely loved that. And then I went back into baseball for 2 years as a coach. I felt like that within the next 3 to 5 years, I could either be a manager or get myself back to the big leagues in some capacity. And Luther Deaton at Central Bank called me and kind of made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I'm so thankful that happened almost 23 years ago. So I'm locked in now. I get to spend each night at my house. Get to go fishing a little bit, play a little golf. Happily married for 38 years.
Yep.
I'm very blessed.
Yes, and Doug, that brings us to your broadcasting. Right now, you're really wrapped up in it with your KET gig. I think you do this your second or third year hosting Kentucky Life. You work with UK baseball and the SEC network, and you work with the Reds broadcasting. So tell us where all that's headed here with this COVID-19 situation.
In the tank. I wished I had some good news for you, Gary. Actually, we were about ready to start my 6th season with Kentucky Life. But we have not done any since. Yeah, we haven't done any since all this happened back in March. So lost about 25 college baseball games that we were doing on SEC Plus. I lost Red's weekly show we were doing, and actually I didn't lose it because of the COVID. They just hired somebody younger to come over and take my place, and they call it something else now. Red something. I don't know what it was. And then what else was it? I was doing a fishing show, but we've kind of quit that right now too. So there's a whole lot of stuff, man, that just I'm not doing. Reds games, won't be doing any of those now for sure, because I think they're going to be doing all the broadcasting from the studio. At least that's what I've been told.
Yeah.
You are doing some commercial spots still. I see you on JL Outfitters?
J&H.
J&H, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my boy George. George opened that store, I don't know, 13 years ago or so, and he said, would you do the voiceover? And I went, what, do you need some hillbilly to come in there and promote your show? And he said, yeah, basically that's what I want. So I'm your man.
Yeah. That's like your good buddy Anthony Munoz. He was on with us, William and I, last week or a couple weeks ago.
And he said he started. Guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah. But he started talking about that furniture fair commercial, and I said, hey, Anthony, do you got your acting? He said, yeah, I got my acting chops. He said, all I do is go in there with. I think that guy he does it with is about 5'5". You said you were 5'8" when he played. And he tries to give Anthony a 5'5", high five, and he can't even reach him.
Well, everything's been put on hold with all this stuff's going on. I'm not sure when it's going to open up, how they're going to open it back up. So yeah, it's been a quiet summer at the Flynn house.
Hey, can we talk? Can we talk just for a minute about your dad, Bobby? Because I'm a big fan of Bobby's as well, and let me tell you. I watched that KET documentary on the Lexington Hustlers, the original Lexington Hustlers, and it really brought me in, as far as, man, I can't believe that, every time I go up the elevator, I see Bobby, and he was part of that. Can you tell us the story on your dad?
Yeah, William, a lot of people watched that I didn't really realize had seen it. But, Dad growing up was a tremendous athlete. Went to Lafayette High School. He would do all kinds of stuff. He could dive. He told us he pole vaulted. I don't know. If he said it, I believe him, because I know when I was 12 years old, we went over to Woodland Park one day, and I jumped off the high dive. Thought I was pretty special, and my dad does a 1.5 off the high dive. And I went, oh, man. But he excelled at everything. He got down to almost a scratch golfer. But he was playing a lot of ball. My dad's not very big. And he said he was looking for a good baseball team to play with. Well, he said that a lot of teams didn't want him because they thought maybe he was so small. Well, he ended up having a lot of friends that played on the Hustlers team, Scoop Brown and Bill Dooley Berry. And Beaver Dam, Mason. These were guys Dad all knew through athletics. And so they said, Bobby, we need a second baseman. You want to play with us? And he went, sure. And you know, it's amazing because when I hear those guys talk about the story, like when I used to, Bunny Davis, who umpired a lot of baseball state tournaments and high school games around this area from Danville, when I heard him talk about it and Scoop talk about it and Lou Johnson talk about it, none of them said, we were looking for a white guy to come play second. And my dad wasn't thinking, all right, I'm going to go play with a bunch of black guys. That was never, ever in the conversation. It's just, hey, Bobby, we need a second baseman. All right, I need a place to play. And he went over there, and from what I understand, they could flat deal. I know they played against the Indianapolis Clowns, which had Goose Tatum. And then, of course, Lou Johnson came and played a little bit. Bill White played some with them, who ended up being president of the league. And they had some great players. So, yeah, he was a much better player than I was. I mean, he could hit and run. And, you know, I came along at another time. Dad actually played a year in the Brooklyn organization, the minor leagues, had a Class D team down in Hazard, Kentucky. And he went down there and played with one of his teammates was Johnny Padres. So, yeah, he was a player, and I tell you, people say, who was your idol? Well, still got him. That's Bobby Flynn.
Yeah.
Yep. Doug, who's the greatest baseball player to ever come out of Kentucky, in your opinion?
Well, they had a guy over in Richmond that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yankees.
Yeah. I don't know. Pee Wee was really good.
Yeah.
Steve Hamilton. I don't know. That's hard to say. There were so many. And you know what I need to do one day, Gary, is just look up, because I know there's a lot of players from around here that I don't even know about.
It was Earl Combs, by the way. Earl Combs.
Oh, yeah. Earl. Yep. He was a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Austin Kearns wasn't bad.
Austin Kearns was good, and maybe one of the nicest people in the world, too. Yeah, I love Austin. He's a dear buddy of mine, and I love him to death. But there's a lot of them. You know, you start looking way back to Joe Cowley, who threw a no-hitter in the big leagues. Jeff Parrott from around here, Marv Foley from around here. And then all these kids over the last several years that, you know, back in the day when we were in high school, there wasn't that many guys getting signed because we were known for basketball, but you really weren't known for baseball. And there were some really good players. There was no scouts around here to check them out.
You know,
some of them went to college, some of them didn't.
The greatest baseball player to ever come from Kentucky, I think, would have to go to David Justice. Wouldn't you think?
He would be in the conversation. Yeah.
What about the the left-handed hitter who played out in San Diego, I think. Outfielder.
Yeah.
Oh. He played like 12, 15 years in the big leagues. A long time. David Justice, where was he from?
He went to Covington Latin.
Covington Latin.
I'll be there. Covington Latin. Yeah, he's a very good ball player.
Yeah.
So that means he graduated high school. Yeah, but that means he graduated high school at about age. He graduated high school at about 14 or 15 if he went to Covington Latin, because they're all brainiacs there.
Yeah, they're all.
That may be why he married Holly. He was smart.
Well, he was smart then, but he was stupid to let her go.
Yeah, it's true. True.
So let's see. I'm just looking up and down here. Were you talking about maybe? You got. Here's just some names going up and down the list.
All right.
Here. There's a ton of them. What about Pete Rose? Wasn't he from the Kentucky side of the river?
No, he grew up in Western
Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Western Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up and down. Travis Fryman, I think, is who you're talking about, though. Was it Travis Fryman?
No, I know Travis. He was born in Frankfurt, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, because his dad fishes over at that pond over around Georgetown all the time.
Johnny LeMaster was pretty good.
Johnny was like me. Johnny could field it. He could really catch it. He stayed a long time too.
There's Don Gollett, he's from Kentucky.
Donnie Gullett might have been the best athlete of the bunch.
Yeah. He had 11 touchdowns in one football game.
I know. Oh, I can't think of this guy. I mean, he's left-handed hitting and fielding. And I think he's from Western Kentucky someplace, and he might have played with the Padres, but really a good player.
Yeah.
But if you make it to the big leagues, you got a chance to be a decent player. I mean, because you look at all the guys that start out, that their goal is to get there, and how many guys did we see, Gary, that this is the greatest player to come out of Kentucky, and he might not have made it much out of college. So you got to have a lot of breaks. You got to keep developing, and then a few things have to go your way. Very few of the guys that get there are the 1%ers or the superstars. The rest of us, you got to really pay the dues to stay around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm looking. John Shelby was pretty good coming out of.
John Shelby was very good and the best person in the world.
Joe
Dodgers,
Sumner.
right?
Yep. Baltimore Dodgers. Yeah.
Oh, speaking, the kid from Dunbar too. He was pretty good. The catcher.
Oh, Ellis, A.J. Ellis.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Of course, Walker Buehler. I think you have to throw his name in there.
Walker Buehler.
Current.
Yeah, he was on the show. He probably should have been in the Cy Young conversation last year. Would you agree with that?
He's awful good. I know that. I remember one spring training. Rick Honeycutt's a good friend of mine who was the Dodgers pitching coach, and Walker came in and was just coming back after surgery. He wasn't throwing near like he's throwing now, but you look at a kid. He weighs 170 and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. Just if he stays healthy, he can have just an unbelievable career.
Yeah.
Well,
there was a lot of them back in the day. A lot of good players that played a little bit, and look at all the ones that went through the University of Kentucky that were good players that you thought might hang around at least in the big leagues for a little while. So, speaking of big leagues, it's going to be interesting to see how they run this 60-game schedule.
Yeah, it's interesting the way they get that set up. You got your, you play your league games. So the National League East would play the National League East, and then they would also play a couple games against the American League East, for example. The way
I feel like I'm in the Matrix. Sorry, I feel like I'm in the Matrix watching me bouncing around like that.
Yeah, the more you move, the more.
Either that or I got Tourette's or something. So I'm really okay, but.
Yeah, your audio's great.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, when we had Bacigalupo, I was getting an echo in my audio.
Yeah,
that's because you tried to get me to say his name, and I didn't have a shot at it. So, but boy, their program. I love listening to high school sports because that's, it's still so fresh and innocent, and I love that. When you start getting to the professional ranks, it gets nasty in a lot of different areas, and this year is going to be interesting to see with all the stuff that's going on and what the pro teams are going to do with what's been given to them, and it's a tough time, buddy. I'm not glad I'm getting old, but it's a time where everything I've tried to get done, I'm glad it's mostly done now, and I don't have to look forward to fighting all the stuff that's been going on.
Yeah. And you've done a great job, particularly with this children's charity here in Lexington. I know you had to cancel it this year. I know that really bummed you out, Doug, and all your people associated with children's charity. But it'll be back. You've got a great organization there, and that's what it's all about. You build all those foundations,
Yeah, this is would have been our 40th year. We've raised close to $17 million for kids in this area, and it really hurts to miss it. But we're planning on doing something in the fall where we can do a little fundraiser, either the fall or the first part of the year, and it's probably going to be like a telethon, and we'll have all the talent that we bring in. We'll be doing some stuff, so it'll be an entertaining show. And if you want to sing one, Gary, just let me know.
Okay. Well, we miss you on the Scholastic Ball Report too. You were my co-host, and then
How about that?
I mean, then you went big time. You went KET, you went the Reds, and you went UK SEC baseball. So, people like Mac Whitaker was saying, "Hey, we won the state championship. Doug Flynn's on there." I mean, people remember that stuff. You announcing their state championship.
Well, I love doing the high school games. That was fun, but I think the schedule just kind of got a little conflicting a couple of years, and
Yeah.
because I had some stuff going on with I can't remember what it was. You remember? I don't know if it
Reds. You're doing
was Reds
those
games.
Reds
Yeah.
games and Reds Weekly, those TV shows, or
Well,
Reds,
we don't have
whatever
to
they.
worry about that anymore.
It was.
That looks like those days are over with.
It was like, wasn't it minor league baseball game of the week or something like that you were doing?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
you were
did
doing
that
that
too. That's right. Me and
You and
Gabe.
Dick Gabriel.
me and-
Yeah, you
we
guys.
did that with Lauren Gardner, who LG Red, and we did that for a couple of years, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got a chance to go out and saw a lot of good players.
We need to get with you and maybe do some big time high school baseball games. We're getting a production trailer here pretty soon, and
Really?
it'd be cool to just go do the, and of course I do all the Lexington Legends home games whenever they're playing, but it'd be cool to take that kind of production and take it to a high school field and do it like that, wouldn't it?
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Heck
I did
yeah!
high school for years.
I got a lot of free time these days, boys.
Hey, we'd love to
They'll
team
make
up
a
with you.
determination. They'll make a determination tomorrow. Julia Tackett and the board's going to decide. I guess, Doug. I guess there's some question about the season coming up. Will they shorten the football season? I don't think they'll flip the seasons. I don't think they'll play baseball in the fall. I just don't think that's feasible with football to flip it.
I hope
like
they
that.
don't. I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do that. I'm curious really about baseball now because all the different rules. I mean, they're saying you can't spit. I couldn't have played. I mean, you got if a ground ball's hit, soon as it's thrown to the first baseman, they throw it out of the game if the guy's touched it with his hand. But the scary part about all this is what I'm worried more than anything is they're trying to implement some stuff into the game now, which they don't only want for this trial period, they want it forever. That's like the electronic home plate, the DH, the starting a runner on second base in extra innings. You're taking away the game. If you're never going to have, I mean, the umpires are 99.7% right, supposedly.
Yeah.
And they don't have the benefit of 12 cameras at every ball game checking them out. And I don't mind an umpire that misses one every now and then because that's part of the game. That's part of having the manager go out. Now with the instant replay, they're taking the personality away from the manager. They're taking it away from the players. And I'm just, I just hope they don't screw it up so bad that it's a game that nobody wants to watch. They just want to sit at home and look on their computer and try to figure it out.
Yeah, so they've been playing with that runner on second for the last couple of years in the minor leagues.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, it does.
Reasoning is they don't want to burn. They don't want to burn up arms. Well, another way not to burn up arms is not have guys throw 100% on every single pitch. And now they've got them maxed out. So you come in and give me 2 innings, 3 if we're lucky, as hard as you can go, as hard as you can throw. And so you're going to find out a lot of guys are going to get some arm injuries and they're not going to have those long, lengthy careers. And then someone else said, well, they're making really good money. They don't need long, lengthy careers. And I said, what about for the love of the game? What about playing baseball because you love to play?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now I throw so hard that I don't have anything left in my arm. So
Yeah.
I just think they got some stuff that.
Yeah, they do. One guy that loves to play the game is Mike Trout. And he's gone on record of saying that with this COVID situation, Doug, he may not play. He may not play base. He's going to stand back and look at this a little bit further before he makes a decision. But he may not play baseball this year.
Gary, they got to be consistent with what they're telling us about COVID. I mean, everybody is so confused by it right now because if you listen to some reports, they say if you've got stage 4 cancer and die, but you also happen to have COVID, they say COVID caused it. If you happen to
Yeah.
get run over by a truck and you die with injuries, but you were tested positive with COVID, they're writing those down. If people would just be told what's going on, then I think you can make better evaluations of what you want to do with your life. But right now,
Yeah.
we're in such a political football with that people are just, they're kind of nervous of thinking, well, is it true or is it not true? And what's more important, my family or going out there and playing ball? And if you've made a lot of money in the past and you're sitting at home pretty healthy, I can understand why
Yeah.
you might say, you know what, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Price made that comment, the pitcher, and so did Trout. But it'll be interesting to see what players, like you said, Doug, if they've made a lot of money, they're just sitting there. They don't care. Okay, I'm just sit this one out, see what happens with this COVID thing. Well, I'm a believer, Doug Flynn, and I don't know about William. I think I believe that that COVID is for somebody like me with pre-existing with high blood pressure, things like that. I think if I got the COVID, it would probably do me. I'm a believer.
Well, just don't get
I
it.
know it. Yeah, just don't. I wear my mask. I wear my mask everywhere I go. I really
I
do.
wear my mask out of respect, but
Yeah,
and I think, I do it out of respect. That's,
that's what. Yeah,
and you know what the good thing is though, when you go fishing, I don't wear one fishing.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I
Me
get
either.
out there and fish. It's me and the world and outdoors and
Yeah,
it's fresh air and I just absolutely love it. And
yeah,
it's kind of funny though, walking into a bank with a mask on now. That's
yeah. I know. There'd be three security cops on top of you tackling you. You ain't coming in there with a
Hey,
mask
so you know how they give them nicknames, all the bank robbers nicknames. What would be Doug Flynn's nickname as a bank robber?
Whoa, that's pretty good, William. It'd be
on.
The Gold Glove Bandit.
The glue that stuck the money.
all right, hold it, Gary. Let me see if you got that, Gary?
Yes, the glue.
The glue.
Doug
There
Flynn.
you go.
That's right. I like
I'd probably be
when
I'd be the smiling bandit or something. I don't know.
yeah.
I know one thing. I wouldn't be too inconspicuous. Because my accent or something. I'd be arrested time I got to my car.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I ran
we
it.
don't have any of that stuff. So I
Yeah.
love our bank. We got some good folks there and do a great
Yeah.
job. And
By the way, I ran into Ross Barnett the other day at the post office. He said that
yep.
I said Doug's coming on the podcast Thursday night. He said, "Well, sorry about your luck." He said,
He runs our insurance company for us over at the Central Bank, and he's done a heck of
"Yeah,
a job. Actually, I think I'm the one that helped encourage him to come over there with us, and it
yeah,
was a great move from a business standpoint, but also from a friend standpoint too.
yeah." His son Taylor Barnett is now the operations manager for the University of Louisville basketball program.
That's right. Yep, that's right. A good
Yep.
family.
He played
Another
for
good
Yeah, really.
family there.
Didn't he play for Lexington Catholic, Taylor Barnett?
Yeah,
Or was that
Lexington Christian.
LCA? LCA, yeah.
Yeah, Christian. Yeah.
And his
Sarah Beth,
sister.
Miss Basketball. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sarah
Yeah.
Beth.
Basketball. Sarah Beth.
You know what,
Barnett,
Gary?
yeah.
What's sad too? This year we were going to be here for the state tournament. I wasn't going to have to be at spring training or nothing, and we were all set
Wow.
and had all our tickets and ready to go. And then,
Yep.
this happened.
Yep.
But we were really excited about going to it.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
We were in Game 5 of the girls' Sweet 16 when everything just kind of came to a halt there, and it's been all messed up ever since then.
Wow. Well, we need to get this thing back because it'll be a good relief. That's why I was telling baseball people, you have an opportunity to step up and make a difference right now when people are looking for something to get away to and to watch. So don't screw it up. But when they had their opportunity a while back, they didn't do it, and who knows what's going to happen now.
That's a good point. Baseball can really come to the forefront and make people bring people back to baseball again, Doug, because I think people, have gotten away from it a little bit, in my opinion.
Well, their target audience was trying to be a younger audience. So for purists and guys that love the game and old timers, the things they're doing was really irritating them. And I know people that love the game but said, I'm not going to watch it anymore. If they're going to keep clowning around with this thing, this is not the game that I grew up watching. Well, it's still a good game, so they still got time to keep it in good order, I hope.
Yeah.
Doug, before you get away from us, your best teammate ever, baseball, any level.
Joel Youngblood. Oh, any level? Any level?
Yeah.
Mike Belcher.
Gotcha.
You know who Mike Belcher was?
Yeah, I know.
He was a shortstop on our high school team, and he was the other guard with me on our high school team. Better
I've
at
heard you
me and
mention him.
everything. Yep, he was good. In the pros, Joel Youngblood and I were together in minor leagues, Cincinnati, Montreal, New York. So we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah. All right,
So,
last question for you. Will Pete Rose ever get in the Hall of Fame? I know your answer. Never mind.
dadgummit, all he have to do, and you've heard me say this 100 times, Gary, is go call a press conference. To my fans, my friends, and my family, I screwed up, made a mistake. I bet on baseball. I didn't bet on us to lose, but I bet on us to win because I love the game. But you got the same guy that if he tries to make an excuse about it, they're gonna say, "Well, you're betting on the NBA, NFL, hockey, leaves falling off a tree." Just he loved the bet. But if he just came on and just said to my friends, and family, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I love this game, and I'm sorry. That's all he have to say.
Yeah.
But until he shows any kind of remorse, they're not going to let him back in because they had a good shot with Joe Morgan and Johnny Bench went to bat for him years ago. And then Pete showed up in Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame when Dennis Eckersley and Paul Molitor were going in, I think so too. And Pete showed up there to do a book signing, and they felt like that was taking publicity away from the two Hall of Famers, so the Veterans Committee backed off of it. So I don't know. I hope so. He's 79 years old. Let's hope he gets in before too long.
Yeah. William?
Definitely. I just wanted to ask you, these minor league teams, we had touched a little bit on the minor league stuff just a little bit, but the minor league teams are kind of thinking out the box right now. Of course, the Lexington Legends is one of those teams. They put together that Bourbon Trail baseball thing where they're actually playing baseball there at the ballpark. They teamed up with the the Florence Yawls, and then also with the Bowling Green Hot Rods, right? So so I mean, have you heard anything about that? And Coach Eddie Brooks over at Frederick Douglass, he's actually going to be a manager on one of those teams, is from my understanding. I hope I'm not letting that out of the bag too soon, but
I think you did.
Eddie played. Eddie played for me a little bit in the minor leagues. That's pretty cool, and I think that's who's really getting hurt. Guys that are under multi-year contracts in the big leagues are in pretty good shape. I'm glad something like this didn't happen when I was trying to make the team. Because if you imagine if something like this happened in 1975, when I went to spring training as an unknown and made the ball club, I'd have never got a shot. That's why I think it's disappointing that Major League Baseball has chosen, before this season even started, to eliminate 41 teams for next year, I think it was. And doing so, in which the Lexington Legends were going to be one, right, William? I think.
Yeah, they were on the list, but here's the big thing about that, though. I don't think Lexington has anything to worry about, because if you think about this whole COVID situation and how it's impacted some of these teams that weren't doing as good financially as the Legends, there's about there's probably a list of 100 teams out there that in a financial crisis, if you will, and the Legends aren't one of those teams. So if one of those teams were to go out, you would think that the affiliation would maybe come to Lexington.
And I agree with you, because Andy and everybody's done such a good job over there. What I remember hearing, and I had a little bit of talk with Alan Stein about this once before, how cool would it have been if they could have pulled off having Dayton as your A team, Lexington as your double A, and Louisville as your triple A team?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's like the Bermuda Triangle there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you would have had so many people because they love the Reds.
Yeah.
You know, you got an American League team there now. I mean, you had a National League team, but it was Houston, and now you got Kansas City. But if you had
Yeah.
Cincinnati, I mean, it'd be great on travel too for the minor leaguers, but you could see kids coming right out of the box in double A's when you really get to see a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's going to be losing 2 of those teams. They got 2 of the minor league teams on the list there.
That's right. That's right.
So
I hate seeing that, and it's because it's taking that opportunity away from so many young players. And there's a few out there, late bloomers, and you just never know. I mean, you look at a guy like Griffey Sr. late, Danny Dreesen. You know, those guys were seen at a camp somewhere, and just, I mean, you got a lot of guys that are number 1 and number 2, but you look down that roster of baseball teams, they're made up of guys from 8th on down. So,
yeah, and you know the guy that hit the home run that won the back-to-back championship, you know, South Atlantic League championship there for the Legends, he retired. He said, "I'm done with it. That was my big swing there." So he hit the home run, retired.
I'm out
Wow.
of here. Mic drop.
Yep, that's a hell of a
that's pretty
mic
good.
drop.
Yeah.
God, if I could ever hit a home run, I might have done it too.
Well, you had 7
Well,
of them. You had 7.
Well, and you had
Yeah,
3
one of them was
triples and
inside
one.
the park. I couldn't even get it out of the ballpark.
Well, you know, hey, I tell you what. I was up in Minnesota, and I broadcast a game where we were doing the Perfect Game Nationals up there, and this was in the Metrodome before they tore it down. But Craig Biggio was up there, and he was doing the color commentating, sitting in on the game up there. And you know, he's one of those guys too that, you know, just was a heck of a defensive guy. Was, you know, a very good, solid hitter, but he never hit the ball out of the ballpark. Where his son comes up there, Kevin Biggio is his name, and we're talking about the Metrodome. And his son's stepping up to the plate in this Perfect Game National Showcase up there, and he's hitting these upper deck shots. I'm talking way, way up in the top
Wow.
of the Metrodome.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? It's almost like Ken Griffey, right? We were talking about his son, Ken Griffey Jr. Of course, Ken Griffey was a pretty good home run hitter too, but I mean, just monster shots.
Pretty, yeah. Hey, real quick story. I'm playing against San Diego, and Gaylord Perry's pitching, and I hit one out on him. And the whole time I'm rounding the bases, he's screaming at me, "I know I'm getting old. It's got to be time to retire. Somebody like you hits me out of the ballpark."
Was it a knuckleball?
It wasn't a spitter. It was I don't know what it was. I think it's that little slider he threw every now and then. But he probably figured he didn't have to throw me a splitter.
It was the Negroes that threw those knuckleballs, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
Negroes.
Negroes too. It was probably
Yeah.
a spitball from
Phil
Gaylord.
Phil Negro, yeah.
Phil Negro had such a good knuckleball that the first time I hit off of him, first time I went to the plate off of him, I struck out on 3 pitches, and when I came back, I'd never seen a knuckleball before. Pete Rose says, "Doug, do the game a favor. Next time, look for a walk."
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness!
Anything coming up for you, Doug, that people need to be aware of, or how can they get in touch with you over at Central Bank for your services that you offer?
You can just holler at me at Central Bank, and you know I'm pretty easy to find. My number's in the phone book, and I don't hide them. I'm just one of the boys. I've been here for 69 years, and grown up and loved this town, and tried to stay involved with as much as I could, other than the political part. Let my dad do that, and my brother's still a police officer, and we're just, you know, we love Lexington. We're just glad to be around here. And the only thing I got coming up, I go to Camp Lejeune, which I do every year with my buddy Johnny Bench, and we do some stuff with a program called Hope for the Warriors, and it's really a cool thing. Last year we got to go to Washington and be on the same stage with Gary Sinise, and this will be about the 13th year that Johnny and I've done it with Hope. We've been going 20 years to Camp Lejeune, helping raising money for military families. So I got that coming up in August. But other than that, I think I'm around here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know, man.
Good stuff. We'll get you back on the podcast, Doug. When we usually do it 8 to 9, but we certainly appreciate having you on tonight.
Yep.
You were
Well,
great.
I know
guest.
this past your bedtime, Gary. So I apologize to Bridget for me, and I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It is. A little, I gotta go, no, hey, wait a minute. I gotta go put out the Herbies tonight. It's garbage day tomorrow. I still got to do that tonight, Doug. So my day never. And,
I hear you,
Bridget had
buddy.
some.
What?
Bridget had some oral work done. She had a tooth that cracked on her. She had surgery. So she's a little wounded right now. So I'm taking care of her.
Well, you go take care of her, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, Doug, real quick, what flavor do you like? I've got Cajun, we got barbecue, we got regular
What is it?
mild, Mingy beef jerky.
Oh, dude.
They are a title sponsor here on the network, so I tell you what, if you need some meat,
Anything but hot. I'll eat anything but the hot one. I don't like the hot one, but I'll eat anything they got.
Yeah, it's
Doug
really good.
Take that out when he goes fishing.
Yeah, I'm fishing a tournament Saturday night, so maybe I'll have to run by and get some.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get you hooked up.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank
that.
you, Doug. Always.
Hi, Gary.
All right, it's always good to have you.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks, William. We'll see you guys down the road.
See you, Doug.
Thank you,
All right,
Doug Flynn, Mr. Baseball. Mr. Baseball.
All right, Gary Ball. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight. What a great couple of guests we had on here once again.
Yeah.
Man, you keep bringing in the big time guests. Man.
Well, Tony Bacigalupo, he is. I tell you, man, he's up and comer up there. He's not up and comer. I mean, he's probably one of the best athletic directors in the state with one of the best athletic programs in the state. I mean, they won football championships, basketball. Soccer, diving, swimming and diving. I mean, he and not to mention our academics up there. They're second to none.
Yeah,
Blue Ribbon School. So we appreciate. And Mr. Baseball, Doug Flynn. I mean, when you think of Lexington and you think of baseball, you think of my man Doug Flynn. I mean, he just
absolutely
personifies baseball, and he's just a good guy,
Yeah,
good guy.
He is. So big day tomorrow for KHSA, Gary. Any
Yeah,
thoughts going into
day.
that?
I think William, realistically, with this COVID on the uptick, and Doug's right. Who do you listen to with this COVID situation? Who do you listen to? Do you listen to Fauci? Do you listen to, Rand Paul says don't listen to Fauci. Trump says don't wear a mask. But I think we got to be careful with this COVID. But I think when it comes to schools, I think they'll probably have to push it back a little bit to be comfortable. Maybe September, late September. I think football might be like Bacigalupo was saying, maybe 6 to 8 games for football, and I think and then we'll have to see with all the other sports, golf, and it looks like you can get a golf match in because they're out there just hitting a golf. They're the only one hitting a golf ball, so you can play golf. Cross country, I don't know. That'd be a little bit tougher because they're all grouped together there when they take off the race. They're all together.
Yeah.
But it's tough. But that's why we let those guys. That's why they're smarter than us, and they'll make those decisions. The board of directors, Julian, and all those guys over at the KHSA.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be tuning in. That starts at 8:30 in the morning, and they're supposed to be live streaming that. So we'll definitely be tuning in here, and because this is our future here we're talking about.
Yeah, and we certainly want there to be high school sports this fall because we want to broadcast them in HD on PrepSpin, and we'll have that big when is the Minky beef jerky truck going to be out there? Sometime this fall.
Yeah, it'll be sometime this fall. When you order those things, it takes about 8 weeks for them to build it and customize it and everything. So yeah, we're still a ways off, but yeah, look out for that. That's something that's going to be happening here pretty soon. And, the Mackley family, we can't thank them enough for all their support and believing in us.
And we want to thank Mingy Beef Jerky for sponsoring this podcast. So they're a sponsor of the podcast. So get your Mingy Beef Jerky at Kroger. You can get it just about anywhere, can't you, William? Kroger?
Oh, yeah.
I know Kroger.
Kroger. I know Kroger in Nicholasville, they set it over around the milk. It's back there, around the milk and everything. So, you can either find it in the dairy aisle or you can find it with the milk over there in that section as well. So, which I guess is still the dairy aisle. But
great flavors, teriyaki, barbecue, hot and spicy, mild. So all the great Mingy beef jerky I'm going to get Curtis to send me a little reader, and I'll do that live read for him every show. So
Yeah.
hey, we got 4 great guests coming on next week on the PrepSpin Mingy Beach Turkey podcast come Thursday night.
Yeah, I can't wait to see who we get, and yeah, I know we got a long list, Gary. It's kind of crazy all these people that want to come on right now, but
and a lot of people want to repeat; they want to come back on. So
yeah,
that's a good thing,
I got the little breaking news from Eddie Brooks. He called me and said, "Hey, can we do a podcast Friday night?" So maybe I'm gonna have him and Andy Shea and I believe his coach at Lafayette. Coach, what is it, Chandler? Steve Chandler, I think.
At Lafayette.
Yeah. I think that guy is going to be coming on too. So, maybe I'll end up having those guys on tomorrow night. So stay tuned. We might have a spur of the moment podcast tomorrow night too. So.
Yep, and then we'll have another one next Thursday, and I got some great people that I've been talking to get on next in the next weeks to come.
Yep,
looking forward to it.
This has been a long podcast tonight.
Yeah, it sure has. Thanks to Doug Flynn coming on the second part, and Tony Bacigalupo, the athletic director at Covington Catholic, came on the first part. Great show tonight.
Yes, sir. All right, Gary. Well, you take care of yourself, and for everybody out there, just remember this. When we're out in the public and we're out, at Walmart or whatever we're at, and when we have to wait in those lines and things like that, I take the mask personally, and I do it because I care about everybody else around. And we're going to wear the mask. Gary and I was going to wear the mask because, we care about you guys out there. So we definitely encourage you guys to wear a mask too when you're out in public.
Well, and the governor said today it's going to be mandatory tomorrow 5 o'clock. Wearing a mask will be mandatory, or you can get fined for not wearing it. So wear a mask. It's easy.
Yeah, and we're going to do it because we want to see you guys play. So
right, because we care about you. Yeah.
All right, Gary Ball. Well, we appreciate you, man. We'll see you. I'll see you again on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, William.
All right, brother.